your iPhone and make a movie. Do something. So that was my attitude. And I was up here. I made a movie, and then I don't make a movie, and I worked other jobs, and then I got another movie making, and then I had some hot periods where I was making a few things in a row, and then I had periods, long stretches where I didn't do anything, and I had to do other work. So.
You started out as an actor when you were 5 years old. You were played a role in The Godfather. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I was in The Godfather. I told them this yesterday when I was a kid because my father, if you saw Green Book, worked in the Copacabana nightclub, and the casting directors and Francis Ford Coppola, excuse me, were in there. They saw him. They asked him to be in the movie, and then they said, "You have kids. We need children for the wedding scene." So that was my first ever being on a set of a movie, and I saw a movie being made, and I was hooked. That was it.
And you wrote your first screenplay in the early 90s, right? What was the moment when you realized that you...
I had my first screenplay made in the early 90s.
Okay, yeah.
I wrote a lot before then.
Okay. But what was the moment when you realized that acting is not enough for you, that you also want to tell your own stories, and that you want to be a screenwriter too?
I think I always knew that. I loved all of it. I was attracted to acting as an actor and wanted to act. I liked telling stories. I was a voracious reader when I was a kid. I read a lot. I pictured, as everyone all do, pictured the books in my head like movies. So I wanted to make movies. And I loved movies. So to me, it was all a combined thing. Theater also. I never thought of it, I can only do one thing. I just liked it all. And I thought the more I do, the more I know. And I was mentioning that yesterday, the fact that I was an actor and writer and producing my own stuff, getting things done, and then directing. It helps you because you're aware of all the different areas and other people. I worked as a crew, camera and grip and production assistant. So that I think that helped me that when I was producing and putting movies together and directing, I know what everyone does. I was an editor for a long time. I edited small films and actors in Hollywood, big thing, actors reels, I did that for a long time, for a lot of big people and for agencies would request me to edit. So I'm aware of editing, I'm aware of writing, I'm aware of what the camera's doing, lenses, and I try to familiarize myself as much as possible so this way it would help me when I was directing. So I knew a little bit of very good.
And before you had your screenwriting debut in 93, I guess, how many scripts did you write that you were not able to sell to anyone?
Oh, I think I wrote my first one in the late 80s, mid 80s, late 80s. I just was a lot. I just was writing. I was close to getting a lot of them made. The first one I ever wrote, I almost had a big company in New York make it. My first draft, first script I wrote, I came very close to doing it. It didn't work out, so I just kept writing. So, we were talking about this yesterday. You have to work hard at it. Nothing of this is easy. So even if things fail, you learn from your failures. So I never thought of failing. I just thought, okay, let me do the next one. I'll do another one. And I looked at my own scripts. Maybe why does this not work? What do I need to do? And I just kept working at it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I also have a background in acting. I was in my teenage years. I was an actor, and then Good Will Hunting was released. I think it was in 1998 or something. And Ben Affleck and Matt Damon wrote their own part, or they wrote their own movie. And so I thought I can do that too. And it turned out it was not that simple. So I wrote I think 5 screenplays until I sold my first one. and got made. But what I always found confusing was that people told me you have to focus on just one story, one screenplay. You have to just do one at a time, and that's just to me it's just bullshit, because you have to work on everything that you, or not on everything, but on a lot of stories, because you have to be prepared. Every day there could be the moment that you meet someone, and this guy could be a door opener for you, and you have to be prepared. You have to come up with like 2 or 3 ideas, right? Or
you have to have 10 things going at the same time all the time. Like right now, I'm writing 3 scripts at once. I have like 4 TV pilots that are out there that are close to being done. I have like 6 or 7 feature scripts out there close to funding. You know, it's like I haven't made a movie since Green. So you know, there was the pandemic, obviously COVID, but you don't know how long it's going to go before your next job, when you do independent work like we do. So you have to have lots. Whoever said stick to one thing, well, you may write the next Godfather, but people may not recognize that for a while. I mean, if it's that good, eventually it'll break out. But I've got scripts I believe is good. I mean, Green Book's hard to top. I set the bar pretty high, which is, you know, so even if I never achieve that level, I have a lot of things, and I'm constantly writing. More product, more product. So you're right, they were wrong, you're right.
Yeah.
You have to have a lot of work if you can. Now, if you're just starting out and there's one thing you want to concentrate on, and that's your thing, yes, definitely concentrate and work on it. But you're going to find, unless you're incredibly talented and lucky at the same time, most of the time it's going to be hard to get things going. So have more than one option. Because many times I'll have I've had people read something and go, I like that, you're writing, but I'm looking for this. Do you have a romantic comedy? Oh, let me dig under my pile under my bed. Here's one. You have to be prepared for that.
Exactly. But what's becoming more and more difficult to me is when you work on like 5 to 10 scripts at the same time, and they are all in different stages. It's becomes difficult to me to structure my day. How do you do that? How do you structure your day? Because I wake up in the morning and I start writing immediately, and as soon as it's 9 o'clock, I get my first call, and someone, okay, I have notes for you, new notes. And people oftentimes think that as a screenwriter, you just sit down in your chamber and you write, and it's a very romantic fantasy of our job, but it's fractured, right? How do you do that?
It's horrible. It's no sleep, weird sleep hours. I mean, when you're doing this, you know, freelancing basically, it's exactly what you say. I mean, especially if you're juggling a couple. I don't usually write more than one thing at one time. Right now I'm doing 3, and I have to also polishing something else. It just fell that way. But either way, you're writing all the time. So I don't have an assistant. I'm not working in an office or studio. So then it's just a matter of me, you know, setting aside time to write every day. And I was telling them, I'm not like a guy that goes, okay, I get up at 9, I write from 9 to 11, I get a coffee and take a break and make some calls. I write from 1 to 4, and then I'm done for my day. I don't know when I'm going to write. I don't have, I'm all over the place. And, you know, you have life stuff that you have to deal with, and then you're getting a million phone calls and a million emails, and you have to find, how do I return them? How do I mean, after Green Book, there was a couple-week period. I've had people say, you know, I texted you and then emailed to thank you, to congratulate you on your win. You never responded. I go, I had like 2,000 messages one day. I'm not going to look at any of them. I don't have, how am I going to answer these? You know, that was a big one, but it gets like that. Your life is messed up, and then people say, you know, they see these scripts, well, when did I write them? You have to like block people out, you have to block time out. But with me, the writing doesn't come like I was telling them, sometimes I'll just think about it. I'll go days or weeks without writing anything. And then I pour it out, and I'll write like for 3 days straight, lock myself in a room, you know, like there was one script I did in 2 weeks. I just never left my apartment. It was all pizza and Chinese delivery food. I just never opened the window, didn't answer the phones. So it's a little different the way I do it. I almost have to isolate myself from people, places, and things to do it. But it could be I start at 10 at night and I go to 10 in the morning, and then I sleep during that day. I was telling you yesterday, I'm more of an emotional writer. Like I write when I feel it. I'm not, I was never a 9 to 5 work guy, as most people in the arts don't like 9 to 5 jobs. I was never that guy. So I don't think in 9 to 5 terms. I could work anytime, any day. There are no weekends. I don't know what's a weekend. It's just, it's all the same. I could write on Saturday and Sunday.
And you write at night too?
I'll write at night, yeah. It's just whenever it comes to me to do it. So that's not a good lesson. It's just the way I
Well, yeah. Well, I have 2 kids. There's 3. Yeah, that's completely different. So I have to be there for the kids, at least physically, because my wife always tells me your mind is somewhere else, and that's not good.
But you're also on television, so you have deadlines, and you have, that's a different animal. It's totally different.
And the weekends are always free and always for the family. Today they have an excuse because I would love to meet you. So
I brought your kids. Yeah.
They're at the lake. Yeah, but in terms of writing, when you sit down and start writing a story, do you have like a page count or something? Is it like you want to write at least like 10 pages or like for 5 hours or something? Or do you have any goals in mind when you sit down?
No, it's weird. That's an interesting question. I never look at how many pages I'm writing until the end of one. I'm just beat. I'm going to stop. And I may have 2 pages. I may have a half page. I may have 10. I just do it. I don't think I have to have this many per day. I just like I said, some days I'll just keep going, and I have it in me, and I don't stop. I just keep going. I'll stop, maybe stop to eat or something, and then I want to get back in there. I have it because I have it in my head. But I don't look at page count. Some days are good page count days, some days aren't. Now, there have been times when I've had to hand something in by a certain day, so then that pressure starts getting on you at a certain point. But I still never think of page count, I just think of getting it done. So whatever I have to do, whatever comes to me that day. Because if I don't have it in my head or my brain, or sometimes I stop and think about it, or I go back a lot. So I'm not big on notes because, you know, whenever people say they want to give me notes or they have notes, especially even people, more so for people that if you're writing for them, well then you should write it yourself, is what I say. If you know what to do, why am I writing it? You're asking me to write it, bring what I bring to it. I do my own notes. So there was a script I got hired on, and I feel I can speak this way in front of you guys. And they said, oh, we're going to hire there's a script reading company, and we're going to hire them to give notes, and then we're going to give you notes. I said, what? You're going to hire, where is it? It's in New Jersey. I go, so wait, you're going to hire a script reader in New Jersey to give me notes on the script you're paying me all this money to write? I said, and you're going to give me notes? I said, I got someone who does great notes. I said, what if I got you a 2-time Academy Award winner to read a script for you and give notes? That would be me. So, unless Steven Spielberg's giving me the notes, I did my own notes. I've rewritten the script. Oh, here it is. It's done. There's no notes. That's the script. They don't like that answer, but.
And when you start writing, do you start from you start from scratch? Do you do outlining, or are you working with index cards, or are you just doing a vomit draft at first, or how do you, what's the process?
With me, it's vomit draft is a good term. I think I mentioned this to people who were here yesterday. I'm kind of lazy in that way. Because the times when, you think, oh, maybe I should do it this way, people say to do it. The first time I ever tried to do that, like write notes or scenes or index cards, and I go, I can be writing the script. What am I doing with this? I'm just writing. So to me, the time and effort. Now, when you're in TV, you have to map out the series. That's a different world. But for me, with my scripts, I just kind of do it in my head. And again, I'm writing it. So the notes that I would be putting on an index card or an outline, I'm just putting it in the script. And even if I don't have it fully thought out, it's in there. And then if I have another idea, I go in the script and I put it in there. And then maybe I start. So my index cards, in a sense, are in the script already. So I'm reading it and seeing it in front of me as the script, and then I just keep going. But usually I write free form or free flow. I just start writing, and then I see where I am. If I have a fully thought out script, the beginning, middle, and end, then I have the basics in my head where I want to go. So I got to figure that out. And that's where the torture comes into writing. You got to make it all work. But that doesn't work for me. That doesn't mean it doesn't make sense to work for someone else. Someone else might want it organized. They have their scenes, their index cards, they put them on the wall, and then they start writing based on that. I just like to dive into it and just start writing. I just open up, look at a blank page, and then start.
You basically said you grew up on a movie set. You're very familiar with storytelling. Have you ever considered theory, like have you ever read Save the Cat or whatever? Do you have a structure?
I don't know what that is.
Great answer. Well, that's the most important book in German screenwriting. It's by Blake Snyder, and it's called Save the Cat, and it basically tells you what should happen, like on every page. And everyone in Germany has read it, like all the editing, the commissioning editors, and they as soon as you hand in a script, they compare it with Save the Cat, the structure. It's horrible, but it works. So if you want to succeed, you have to
stick
to it. Yeah.
Is that guy big? Is he a big screenwriter?
Say it again.
Is
Sorry.
he a big screenwriter? Is he a
No,
giant movies made?
he just
No.
did one movie.
No, he writes books on how to tell you how to write movies, but he doesn't write any movies himself, probably. I mean, most of those books, and you see these classes in Hollywood, there's certain guys that are known like that too, and you have to read their book and go to their seminars. I go, what movies have they made? They've never made a movie. So why am I listening to them? And as I said yesterday, as we talked about yesterday, I'm not saying that any of that is wrong. Act 1 and Act 2 and Act 3 and the arc of the character, and I've never thought about that once on anything I've ever done. Because through osmosis, if you're a movie lover and a book reader and I never even knew the proper page count. The first movie I wrote, I just wrote it, and it just worked out that it was, because to me it was like I'm watching a movie. I know a movie, the basic arc and timing in a sense, I guess. I didn't start that way. I just kind of like did it. So I'm not saying you can't learn from those books, you can't learn from the structure, but then what you have is everyone in the room is using that guy's book and saying, do this by page 10, do this by page 30.
Yeah.
Well, then you're going to have 30 of the exact same script in a way. Like it's not going to. I don't know. I don't want to say don't do it because maybe I'm wrong. I just don't do it that way. I just through knowing movies and books and films at the beginning and middle and end, the character has to go through what he's going through, depending on the story you're telling. There has to be obstacles. But like I'm saying, I'm articulating that now, but I just don't think of it. just kind of write it. And I think, I think that's where, like Green Book doesn't really fit that formula.
Yeah, exactly.
In theory, I mean, there's at the beginning, there's an end, there's a change in my father's character, and that was true. Like I was telling him yesterday, I was a lot fortunate that way, but basically it's two guys in a car talking. If I did that in a film school or in a class, they would destroy. Like when I first went out with that script, people said no one will ever make this, no one will ever watch it. It's terrible. It's terrible. I was told it was horrible, and I didn't change it, other than working with Pete and Brian, and we worked within the same thing, but it was basically the same thing. So you can't always go by the rules.
Yeah.
Then you'll never do anything different if everyone's doing the same pattern.
Very interesting, because when I rewatched Green Book 2 days ago, I thought this is refreshing because this is not done by the book. And I looked it up online, and there was a discussion on the Save the Cat page. And it was not a discussion, because someone was just asking me the question, so how does this movie fit in this structure? And there was no answer, because it obviously did not fit in. And that's why I really loved the movie. I wrote a road movie myself just last year, and I always got the notes that were somehow referred to Save the Cat. So what's at stake? What is the wife doing at home at the same? Where's the B plot? Blah 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 blah. And it was horrible, I have to say. So I think it was very refreshing to see, because when you stick to Save the Cat, the audience is not stupid. They know, they've learned a lot, and they know what will happen the very next moment, because when you try to make all...
Maybe it's time to kill the cat instead of save the cat. I don't know if I told this to you guys, or there was another, there was one script I wrote, I was writing it, and it was about this, I don't know, about an alien, and his planet is dying, and species is dying, and he comes into a human body to try to check out Earth to see if he can bring these other aliens down to take over human bodies, because they have no planet anymore. It's crazy, it's from Green Book to that, but, so, the problem is they only pick someone that's about to die, so this way they're not taking over. They're like kind of good aliens. They don't want to kill anyone. But they need to get into a body. So only this guy picked a guy that was a serial killer. So when he got into the body, the guy's serial killer tendencies was still there in the physical body, but this guy's now trapped in this body. And so crazy story. But point was, the government kind of knows this is going on. They're trying to find them. And there's an agent, a female character that's an agent that finds the guy and is trying to help him, and she's going to be in the whole movie with him going along as they're being chased. There's one bad alien that says, well, no, let's just kill the humans and take over their bodies. If we have to kill everybody, just take it over. We don't have to be nice to them. We got to get to them. So there's someone looking for him, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. So this female character, FBI, not FBI, like some government agency, is going to be with him the whole movie. I had her in like maybe 2 scenes, and there's a scene they're driving together, and they're being chased, and something has to happen. And I kind of got blocked, like to get to the next section. I was like, what do I do? I don't know, what should I do? And then I went, what if I just kill her right now? Just have them, they go in to get her something to drink, she gets back in the car, he just kills her. Like on page 15, instead of page 90, where she was supposed to be in my original plan. And I did that just to shake me up. Because that should not be happening. That shouldn't be happening as a writer. The whole plan was to have her in the whole movie. So I killed her, and he just killed her like it was nothing, because the serial killer in him killed her. And then he didn't know what to do. And then so I'm like, oh, but what do I do now? So now I just painted myself in the corner. I don't have the person. And it made me figure out something else. So my thing is, if you don't have to plan everything, you don't have to go by concepts. Now, if you're first writing and you want to try that again, it may not be bad, but I just don't write that way. I write by emotion, feeling. Because what if you're, all those things that you have to have in a movie, what if you're writing, this gentleman here wrote a script that just by accident, I ran into him yesterday. I'd never met him, and they sent me a script like right before COVID, and it was good, and we were talking about maybe me directing it and us getting an actor for it. And it's like one guy on a planet. His ship crashes and he's on a planet by himself. So it was a great script, but there's no one chasing him really. Like all the other things you need, like that would happen to this character, it's different because it's a different story. So you can't go by the rule all the time because your story may be different. Well, what if you have someone that doesn't have a conflict? There is no bad guy. What if you're writing a romantic comedy? There's, obviously two people falling in love is usually the same basic story, but there's different stories to be told, and you have to tell them in different ways. So you can't always follow the rules as well.